Hello and welcome to Paint the Past. I'm your host, Amaris. Today we're going on a rather special journey together. As I paint this magnificent pyrite crystal from the online collection of the Royal Ontario Museum, link included in the description below, I'm going to tell you the absolutely fascinating story of a mineral that has fooled, frustrated, and ultimately furthered human civilization for thousands of years. So pyrite. It's made of iron sulfide, and it's commonly known as fool's gold. This mineral has more nicknames than a career criminal, and for good reason. It's been causing mischief and mayhem since humans first started digging in the earth. So settle in and let's explore the glittering world of pyrite. The name pyrite comes from the Greek word pyr, meaning fire. The ancient Greeks noticed that when you strike pyrite against steel or another hard surface, it produces sparks. Think about that for a moment. This was one of humanity's first reliable ways to make fire on demand. Before matches, before lighters, there was pyrite. But here's where the story gets interesting. In ancient Rome, pyrite wasn't considered worthless at all. Roman ladies wore polished pyrite jewelry and used pyrite mirrors. Can you imagine? These mirrors weren't perfect like the glass mirrors we use today. The reflection would have been slightly golden and mysteriously fuzzy. Some historians believe this gave the wearer an almost otherworldly appearance, which was highly fashionable among the Roman elite. The Incas too valued pyrite highly. They polished large slabs of it to use as mirrors in religious ceremonies. When the Spanish conquistadors arrived in South America, they found these pyrite mirrors, and in their gold-hungry frenzy, initially believed they had found evidence of vast gold deposits. The disappointment must have been substantial. Chemically, pyrite is Fe(S2), one iron atom bonded to two sulfur atoms. It's quite simple, but the way these atoms arrange themselves creates something magical. Pyrite forms in the isometric crystal system, which is why we often see these perfect cubes in nature. Sometimes you'll find octahedrons, which look like two pyramids stuck together, or pyritohedrons, which have 12 pentagonal faces. Today I'm painting a cubic cluster, because honestly, the fewer lines I need to try to keep straight, the better. The metallic luster we're seeing comes from the way light interacts with the surface electrons in the crystal structure. It's the same principle that makes actual gold shiny too, which is why the visual similarity is so striking. But here's how you tell them apart, and this knowledge would have saved a lot of prospectors a lot of heartache. First is the streak test. If you scratch pyrite on a piece of unglazed porcelain, it leaves a greenish-black streak. Gold, on the other hand, leaves a golden streak. Second is the hardness. Pyrite is much harder than gold. On the Mohs rock hardness scale, pyrite is a 6 to 6.5, while gold is only 2.5 to 3. You can scratch gold with a copper penny, but pyrite will scratch the penny instead. Speaking of prospectors, let me tell you about one of the most tragic pyrite stories from the California gold rush. In 1849, a group of 49ers, which is what they called the gold rush prospectors, discovered what they thought was the mother lode near Grass Valley. They spent weeks extracting tons of glittering ore, already spending their imagined fortunes in their mines. They hauled their treasure all the way to San Francisco, enduring bandits, harsh weather, and dwindling supplies. When they finally reached an assayer's office, the expert took one look at their haul and delivered the devastating news. "Gentlemen, you've got yourself the finest collection of iron pyrite I have ever seen." The story goes that one of the men sat down on the street corner and wept. Another supposedly threw his samples into San Francisco Bay in a rage. But here's the ironic twist. If they had kept that pyrite and held on to the claim, they might still have made a fortune. You see, pyrite often contains trace amounts of actual gold locked within its crystal structure. Some modern mining operations specifically target pyrite deposits for this invisible gold content. There's also the story of Captain John Sutter, the same Sutter whose mill started the California gold rush. Before gold was discovered on his property, he had actually been collecting pyrite specimens, convinced he'd found gold. He'd even sent samples to San Francisco to be tested. The assayer's report came back negative, of course, but imagine Sutter's conflicted feelings when, just months later, actual gold was found practically in his own backyard. Aside from tricking miners, pyrite has played a crucial role in warfare. During World War I, pyrite became one of the most strategically important minerals in the world. Why? Sulfuric acid. Pyrite, when roasted in the presence of oxygen, produces sulfur dioxide, which can be converted to sulfuric acid. This acid was essential for making explosives. Germany, when it was cut off from its traditional sulfur sources by Allied blockades, turned to their extensive pyrite deposits. And the mines in Rio Tinto, Spain, which had been worked since Roman times, became a crucial source of pyrite for the Allied forces. Speaking of the Rio Tinto mines, the pyrite extraction process there had turned the local river red from the iron oxide in the runoff, hence the name Rio Tinto, meaning Red River. The conditions were so harsh, the landscape so alien, that NASA actually studied the Rio Tinto as an analog for Mars. They wanted to understand how life might survive in such an extreme environment. During World War II, pyrite again played an important role. The Japanese military, desperate for sulfur to make gunpowder and sulfuric acid, initiated a massive pyrite mining operation. School children were even recruited to collect pyrite specimens as part of the war effort. There are accounts of entire classes spending their days searching for pyrite instead of studying. One of the most fascinating aspects of pyrite is how it forms. Pyrite can crystallize in so many different environments that geologists sometimes call it the universal mineral. It forms in hydrothermal veins, where superheated water carries dissolved minerals through cracks in the rock. It forms in sedimentary rocks, often replacing organic matter. This is why we sometimes find pyritized fossils, ancient shells, and even soft-bodied creatures perfectly preserved in golden pyrite. One of the most spectacular examples was discovered in the Burgess Shale in Canada. Researchers found 500-million-year-old trilobites that had been completely replaced by pyrite. Every detail preserved in fool's gold: compound eyes, antennae, even the finest surface textures. It's like nature's own gold statue-making process. But here's something truly mind-bending. Scientists have found pyrite formations that may have played a crucial role in the origin of life on Earth. The surface of pyrite crystals can catalyze chemical reactions, potentially helping to form the first complex organic molecules. Some researchers propose that life may have begun on the surface of pyrite crystals at deep-sea hydrothermal vents. Throughout history, pyrite has woven itself into folklore and superstition, too. In medieval Europe, pyrite was known as thunderstone because people believed it offered protection from lightning strikes. They would place pyrite specimens on their rooftops or carry them during storms. The Victorian era saw a fascinating use of pyrite in jewelry. During this period, marcasite jewelry, which is actually pyrite, not true marcasite, became incredibly popular. The glittering stones were set in silver to create intricate brooches, rings, and necklaces. Queen Victoria herself wore marcasite jewelry during her mourning period for Prince Albert, as it was considered more appropriate than bright gold or colorful gems. Native North American cultures had uses for pyrite too. The Pueblo peoples used polished pyrite in sacred ceremonies, believing the reflective surface could reveal hidden truths. Some tribes ground pyrite into powder and mixed it with paint to create ceremonial body art that would shimmer in firelight. In Chinese philosophy, pyrite is associated with yang energy, the masculine, active, and protective. Feng Shui practitioners still recommend placing pyrite in homes and offices to attract wealth and ward off negative energy. Today, pyrite continues to surprise us. Recent research has revealed that pyrite might be a key player in the future of green technology. Scientists have discovered that pyrite nanoparticles can be used in solar cells as cheap, abundant alternatives to rare earth elements. So fool's gold might be powering our sustainable future. Pyrite is also being studied for its potential use in environmental remediation. Its ability to absorb heavy metals from contaminated water could make it valuable in cleaning up industrial pollution. Some researchers are even exploring pyrite's antimicrobial properties. Apparently, some bacteria can't stand the stuff. And here's something that would have amazed those heartbroken minor 49ers. Modern technology has finally figured out how to extract that invisible gold I mentioned earlier. Using a process called bioleaching, special bacteria can dissolve the pyrite and release the microscopic gold particles trapped within. Some deposits can contain up to 30 grams of gold per ton of pyrite. Not exactly a mother lode, but certainly not nothing. And there we have it, our pyrite crystal, captured in watercolor, shimmering with all the complexity and contradiction that makes this mineral so fascinating. From sparking the first controlled fires to potentially sparking life itself, from breaking the hearts of prospectors to powering future solar panels, pyrite has been humanity's constant companion, sometimes friend, sometimes fool, always fascinating. The next time you see a piece of pyrite in a rock shop or museum, take a moment to appreciate it. Yes, it's fool's gold, but perhaps we're the fools for calling it that. After all, this humble iron sulfide has shaped history, powered wars, inspired art, and might just help save our planet. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the history of pyrite. If you've enjoyed this video, I'd be thrilled if you'd join me for future episodes. And remember, all that glitters may not be gold, but that doesn't mean it's not valuable. See you next time!